Test one, test one. Test two, test two. So just so you know, I can start the live stream.
Oh, okay. Got
Right?
it.
So,
Great.
so it gives a couple people that get on, they know that they're here, and you
Mhm.
start whenever, when the director, when Lisa says it's okay. But
Okay, got it. Okay.
But I just want you to know that the live stream is on.
It's on. Okay. Thank you.
Storyline was the Ben was. I'm happy that he's free now for his project.
All right, good morning, everyone here present and those joining by video. I think most of you know me, but for those who do not, I'm Atul, Shrikant's younger son. My father was an earnest man with a strong work ethic. A simple man, he always drove the most beat-up car in the household. As the eldest of 25 cousins, he was a role model. He was a father figure for those who had fathers who were distant or who had passed. He found joy in celebrating the accomplishments of his family members and his friends. Baba had a great sense of humor. In my memory, he did not laugh harder than when we took him to the 2007 US Open quarterfinals. He was 60, I was 26. After a young Novak Djokovic defeated Carlos Moya, Djokovic hung back in the stadium to entertain the crowd with hilarious impersonations of Rafael Nadal and Maria Sharapova. Baba could not stop laughing, especially at Djokovic's mimicry of Nadal's rituals and Sharapova's serve. Baba approached work and study with humor and playfulness, often treating them as games. Reflecting on our relationship, I realized recently that I was not only a son, but also his apprentice. I spent countless hours with him, learning by listening and doing. From his home office, he taught me how to manage property taxes and utility bills, maintain a meticulous filing system for easy retrieval, and even write court briefs regarding tenant disputes. He was too cheap to hire a lawyer and preferred to consult books like Contract Law for Dummies. He may not have attended every game or school event, but his presence in my life was profound, and he was there when I needed him. Whether on drives, during home projects, or hiking in the national parks, our conversations shaped me. Playing catch was not really his thing, but an hour of abhyas or study every weekend was. We read books like The Story of the Bible and Sherlock Holmes, with him insisting that I write definitions for every unfamiliar word, often until my hand ached. Those sessions became our way of connecting. And we talked a lot about cars and planes. With planes, I remember he not only indulged my interests, but taught me how to be resourceful. Instead of buying books, he would drop me off at the public library. He had many public library cards. He left me there for hours, knowing that the key book he recommended, the Jane's All the World's Aircraft, was a 1,000-page reference item that could not be checked out. Across several weekend visits, I read every single page. Before a trip we took to Seattle when I was 10 years old, he suggested I write to Boeing's Investor Relations Department about their airliner program. He believed they would be a lot more motivated to respond than some generic address in Seattle. I'll never forget the joy of finding in our mailbox at the end of the driveway not one but 3 packages of free stuff from Boeing in the mail, filled with photos, plane posters, and yes, annual reports. While I never became a shareholder, I've always loved their planes. While some moments felt unpleasant at the time, like doing the taxes while friends played Nintendo, as I look back, I have come to appreciate not only how much I learned from him, but also recognize that this was his way of showing that he cared. And perhaps as a result, I got to know him and understand him in ways that would be difficult for others. He never took himself too seriously. He sometimes referred to me as his chief of staff. I teased him for not knowing how to use WordPerfect 6, an early version of word processing software, and he would respond with pride that he only worked on mainframe computers that occupied entire floors in New York City buildings. Today, I smile when I see my kids effortlessly navigating their Xbox and iPads. Through my life, he guided me, not by rolling out the red carpet or by pressuring me, but through subtle, repeated advice. Some of his gems included: number one, holding grudges is a waste of time and energy. Number two, if you wait for the perfect moment, the opportunity will pass. Number three, when in doubt, always remember you are the only person who can best decide your own affairs. Family and friends remember him as kind-hearted, resilient, and having a sharp intellect. In group settings, he was the storyteller who could spin the most far-fetched tales, sparking laughter and a bit of skepticism. He would provoke debates by skillfully taking the other side, always keeping you guessing about his true beliefs. In private, he cherished his solitude, whether it was through his morning yoga and calisthenics routine or the countless hours he spent in his home office, immersed in work, books, and reflection. Our relationship was not always smooth, but looking back, I have come to embrace what I once saw as his flaws. As a friend and a family man, he carried a humble awareness of both his gifts as well as his limitations. I now strive to carry forward his qualities with legacy wherever I can. But just to warn you, echoing his qualities will include the following. 1, saving old newspapers. 2, not trusting a computer password manager. Number 3, buying a used book from the Strand bookstore and giving it to someone as a birthday gift. And number 4, watching 60 Minutes for fun. As his apprentice, I was not ready for this apprenticeship to end. Thankfully, he left me with countless breadcrumbs, suggestions, ideas, and clues that will take a lifetime to explore. And for that, I'm deeply grateful. Rather than lament what could have been, let us all find inspiration and meaning in his life so well lived. Let me end with this. Many of you might remember the large framed textile print in our family room. It was not only until high school that he told me it depicted a scene from the Mahabharata, Lord Krishna driving the warrior Arjuna's chariot in the Bhagavad Gita. Reflecting on the things he left behind, I've come to see how deeply the Gita shaped his mindset. The Gita is poetry, Sanskrit, Vedanta, all things he cherished. At its core is the teaching that the soul transitions from childhood to youth, to old age, and ultimately to another body. It is eternal, it is immortal. As the Gita says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor will there ever be a time when we shall cease to be. Baba, it pained me to see you suffer, and I know you are in a better place. You will always be with us and the generations to come. Thank you.
Anisha, Kira, Kale, and Amila, your Abba was a remarkable man. I want to spend a few minutes this morning talking about some of the things that made him so. And while it is sad that you will not get to spend more time with him, seeing, hearing, and feeling the things that made him remarkable, I thought no better way to honor him and what he stood for than sharing some stories about him and some of his remarkable traits. First of all, Abba was a man of remarkable courage. He left India at the age of 21, leaving behind his parents, younger brother, and countless aunts and uncles. He was the oldest of 25 first cousins, just on his father's side. He left all that comfort, security, and network of family and friends to come to a country that didn't really have many recent Indian immigrants and didn't really have necessarily a defined career path ahead of him. His courage was rewarded as he lived a very full life here in the US, raising a family, traveling, working for New York City, and running his own real estate empire. Be courageous in the choices you make as you head out into the world. Anisha and Kira, you both are a little closer to deciding what this will mean to you. But Kale and Leela, you'll be there soon enough. And don't forget this lesson from your Abba. Second of all, your Abba was remarkable at connecting with people in ways you couldn't have imagined unless you saw it in person. A couple of months ago, after he had lost his cell phone, we went together to Walmart to get a replacement. I dropped him off at the front with his walker while I parked the car. And when I came back inside, just a few minutes later, he was chatting in an animated way with the security guard, talking to him about politics, religion, and just about everything people tell you not to talk to strangers about. I had to wait for 5 minutes until he finished so we could go back to where they sold cell phones. And yet somehow in those few minutes he had made a friend. At the sales counter, he proceeded to start talking in broken Spanish with the young salesman, who was a Hispanic, in ways that definitely felt politically incorrect. But the salesperson didn't seem to mind and proceeded to help him for 20 minutes to find the exact right cell phone, despite all of my dad's crazy questions. He first asked, which is the most expensive cell phone that I can buy? Show me that one. And then he said, which is the least expensive cell phone I can buy? Show me that one. And then he kept asking, which cell phones can you remove the batteries from so that the phone won't get hacked? I never get that type of treatment and support when I go to a store, but somehow your Abba had connected with this individual. Finally, at the line to pay for the phone, he struck up a conversation with an Orthodox Jewish gentleman, and off he went. Netanyahu this, Bibi that, solutions to the crisis in Gaza. And well after the transaction was completed, he continued on with him. Finally, I had to direct Abba out of the store. But as we were walking away, the gentleman pulled me aside and said, your father's pretty remarkable. I could go on, but you get the picture. Abba loved to meet new people and connect with them. It's a lesson I hope you keep with you. Maybe the other lesson in all of this is that sometimes your dads may do things that are cringy or embarrassing, but maybe it's just us being remarkable too. Another remarkable thing about your Abba was that he knew the things he was not good at and readily acknowledged those things. This characteristic of self-awareness is remarkable because there are a lot of people who have a hard time acknowledging and accepting their faults. One of Abba's faults was that he did not know how to clean things up and throw things out. And to make things worse, he had a really bad habit of constantly collecting things from wherever he went. But he knew this about himself. When we were growing up in 58 Greenwoods Road, he used to have one room as his office. And every 3 months, all of us, Aji, Atul, me, and Abba, would have to spend a couple of hours throwing out all of the stuff that had accumulated there. And somehow every 3 months, we'd haul out 4 to 6 grocery bags worth of garbage, mainly paper, but other random things as well. In the last couple of years, the entire 58 Greenwoods home seemed to become that way. I used to get upset with him when I went to go to our home and see what a mess it had become. But he would calmly remind me that he had this fault, and then he would say 2 things to me. He would say, in Marathi, "Tu kashala raag yetay. Mi tula ite raila nai sangtoy." He would say, I'm not asking you to live here with me. Why do you have to get mad? He said it jokingly. And then he would say, in Marathi, मी शेतीमध्ये खूप वर्ष राहिलोय. म्हणून असंच घरी मला वाटतंय. Which means, you know I grew up on a dairy farm, so this feels just like home to me. And I really couldn't argue. In fact, when I visited him the day he died, he asked me to bring 80 sheets of paper and a dozen pens so he could write while he was in the hospital bedroom. And I thought to myself, what an enormous mess he's going to make in that room by the time he leaves. Unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to do that. Anisha, Kira, Kayla, and Leela, I'm telling you this all now. Not so you can go home and keep your room as a mess and say it's Baba's fault. I'm telling you this because knowing your own faults and weaknesses is just as important as knowing what you're good at. Finally, your Abba had remarkable will and tenacity. Once he made up his mind to do something, nothing could get in his way. I'm sure he showed this time and time again over his childhood and adult life. But I saw it most clearly in how he lived his life these last few years. He very much valued his independence, and he had made up his mind that he was going to live on his own in 58 Greenwoods Road as long as he could. Despite needing a walker to get around and struggling to go up and down stairs, every week he would go to a doctor's appointment in Englewood for his legs. The doctor's office would send an Uber to pick him up. On the way, he would ask the Uber driver to stop at the Norwood post office, where the postmaster would come out and give him his mail. They had become very close friends over the years. Then he'd have his doctor's appointment, and on the way back, he'd have the Uber take him to some other small errand, either getting a haircut or going shopping. He could have found easier ways to live, but he was determined to live life his way on his terms. Now, Anisha, Kira, Kaylin, and Leela, in your life, you may come across some people who may call this type of behavior stubborn. But if anyone ever says you're being stubborn, just let them know you're showing will and tenacity, like Abba did. There are a few other things you should know about your Abba. One, he was a supernatural driver. He used to drive almost 3 hours round trip to work each day, not on open country roads, but up and down the Palisades Highway, the FDR, across the Brooklyn Bridge, not for the faint of heart. We used to joke that Abba could take half-hour naps while driving, and quite often his driving asleep was better than most drivers when they were awake. The other thing you should know about Abba, he had a serious sweet tooth, actually a junk food tooth, which he passed down to me. It's an affliction that Jyoti will spend the rest of her life trying to eradicate. On that same trip to Walmart for his cell phone, he demanded that I buy him some Ferrero Rocher chocolates. And I half-heartedly objected, because I decided that there's so little nutrition in those. But then he convinced me that he really needed the chocolate, so I got them. Your Abba spoke many languages, kept up with current events, read and listened to books his entire life. Sadly, some of those qualities have appeared to skip a generation with me, as I never quite got past English and a bit of Spanish and Marathi. But he could often embarrass me in conversations, remembering even the books I had read better than I could. He would remind me that I did a book report about the mayor of Casterbridge in high school, long after I'd forgotten I'd ever read the book. So when my kids hear me telling them not to watch as much TV, it's their Abba speaking. When I tell them they should read the New York Times every day, it's their Abba speaking. Another thing you should know is he seemed to cross paths with a lot of famous people, but didn't really talk much about it till quite recently. And as Atul said, sometimes when he told these stories, we could kind of believe them and then maybe doubt whether they were true, but anytime I tried to fact check them, I found out they were probably very true. He worked high enough in the New York City government to cross paths with mayors like Ed Koch, who he liked a lot, and Rudy Giuliani, who he didn't like at all. At various points in his life, he was in touch with or crossed paths with investors like E. Henry Singleton, John Templeton, Warren Buffett, George Ross, who was Trump's lawyer on the show Apprentice, and entertainers like Barbra Streisand, Simon and Garfunkel, Rodney Dangerfield, and Alan Alda again, stories he would tell, not as we were growing up, but more recently as we were talking. And then finally, he always insisted on carrying a lot of cash. I grew up in a world before Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay. And he told me that one of his uncles had told him to always carry a lot of cash on hand in case there's ever an emergency and you need to pay somebody something right away to get something done. There was a story from his child he would tell me about someone not having cash in such an emergency and there being really a grave outcome. We do think he took it to an extreme sometimes, though. He was once brought to a hospital in Delaware, which is another long story, and the security department had to store some $15,000 in cash in their vault until he was ready for discharge. And when we went to gather his belongings from the facility where he just passed away, security had another $1,600 in cash that they had kept saved away. There are a lot of lessons, kids, from your Abba's life. And hope you hold him dear in your heart forever. Thank you.
Can I say two words? Good, it's okay? Especially for 4 grandkids. I'm proud of your dads, and because I had told them to promise me they will take good care of their father, and they have done. I cannot find any other moment to express my thankfulness to them. And as they said in the obituary that he was a loving husband, I have no doubts about it. Unfortunately, he was not able to express himself. The last sorry word was said in your house at the Thanksgiving in 2010. I wanted to find out why he said sorry. He was not able to express, but he will always be the person in my mind who gave me the beautiful motherhood experience. Thank you.
You move it to the front a little bit, so they can go around.
Yes.
So you have the brother?
Yeah.
And little bit this side. Okay, that's enough. Good. Ram. Can I have some water?
Water?
Yeah. You can bring in this. Full water. Okay. So this is your dad?
Yeah.
That is mom. Mom is here.
Yeah. She's in the back. Yeah.
It's okay? It has to be okay. You speak Hindi? Hindi, Marathi? Hindi.
Marathi.
Marathi, थोड़ी Marathi. have microwave here?
What?
Microwave.
Yes.
Can you keep this in the microwave for a minute?
Minute?
Yeah. Become liquid in water. All relatives?
Yeah,
No friends?
all family.
All family, yes. You have January? No?
No.
You asked me to bring it,
Yeah.
but I forgot. Huh? Can you both sit on the floor?
Yep.
Here. Yeah, facing this side. No sisters and the boys. Just wipe your hands. Okay. I'll go here. Okay. ॐ केशवाय स्वाहा आराधनाय स्वाहा माधवाय स्वाहा गोविन्दाय नमः विष्णवे नमः मधुसूदनाय नमः त्रिविक्रमाय नमः वामनाय नमः श्रीधराय नमः ऋषिकेशाय नमः पद्मनाभाय नमः दामोदराय नमो नमः यज्ञोपवीतं परमं पवित्रं प्रजापतेः यत्सहजं पुरस्तात् आयुष्यमग्र्यं प्रतिमुञ्च शुभ्रं यज्ञोपवीतं बलमस्तु तेजः. 10 times. Hold the belly and you say 10 times yourself.
Out loud?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Very good. And last one. Few paper towels, napkins,
More paper towel?
please.
You want a roll?
No,
Just
doesn't have.
some.
Yeah, just for them, not for me. When was this? When did he pass away?
Saturday night.
Saturday. Today is Wednesday. केशवाय नमः नारायणाय नमः माधवाय नमः गोविन्दाय नमः शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये. Put that in your left hand and close the right hand on your right leg. Om. Can you repeat after me? Mama Upatta Samasta Durita Kshayadvara Parameshwara Prityartham Shubhe Shobhane Muhurte Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya Parardhe Shvetavaraha Kalpe Vaivasvata Manvantare Kaliyuge Prathame Pade Krauncha Dvipe Ramanaka Varshe Aindra Khande Meroho Paschime Parshve Shakabde Asminne Vartamane Vyavaharike Prabhavadi Shashti Samvatsaranam Madhye Srimate Krodhinama Samvatsare Dakshinayane Hemantartau Margashira Mase Krishna Shukla Pakshe Chaturthyam Punyatithau Vasaraha Saumya Vasara Yuktayam Vishnu Yoga Vishnu Karana Evam Guna Visheshana Vishishtayam Asyam Punyatithau. Have that Janina put it in our left.
Switch it.
Switch it. No, not switch it, not like that. This way.
Oh,
Up it. Prachinavitam apasavyam. Tricky. Doctor?
Yeah.
Right hand up. Asyam Chaturthyam Punyatithau. You know your Gotram? Gotra मालूम है? Gotra होना चाहिए. What is his name?
Joshi.
Shrikant.
हाँ, श्रीकांत जोशी नामधेयस्य शाण्डिल्य विश्वामित्र
Chandelier now after that.
शाण्डिल्य नाम नहीं, वो गोत्र है.
Gotra.
श्रीकांत जोशी नामधेयस्य बोलिए. मम
Mama
पितुः
Pito
मरणकाले
Maranakale
यो दोषः
Yodoshaya
समजनि
Samajani
तद्दोष
Taddosha
परिहारार्थं
Parirarartham
पितृलोक
Pitraloka
सिद्ध्यर्थं
Siddhyartham
उत्तमलोक
Uttamaloka
सिद्ध्यर्थं
Siddhyartham
अन्त्येष्टि
Antyashti
कर्म
Karma
करिष्ये
Karishe
तदंग
Kadanga
तदंग
Tadanga
पुण्याः वाचनं
Punyanan Avacham
पुण्याः
Punyaya
वाचनं
Vachanam
करिष्ये.
Karishe
वो अक्षता इसमें कर दीजिए. ओम कलशस्य मुखे विष्णुः कंठे रुद्रः समाश्रितः मूले तत्र स्थितो ब्रह्म मूले तत्र स्थितो ब्रह्म मध्ये मातृगणा स्मृतः कुक्षौ तु सागराः सर्वे सप्तद्वीपा वसुन्धरा ऋग्वेदोऽथ यजुर्वेदः सामवेदोऽथर्वणः अङ्गैश्च सहिताः सर्वे कलशान्तु समाश्रिताः आयान्तु देवपूजार्थं दुरितक्षयकारकाः सर्वे समुद्रास्तरितः तीर्थानि जलदानदाः गङ्गे च यमुने चैव गोदावरी सरस्वती नर्मदा सिन्धु कावेरी जलेऽस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु. ॐ इमं मे वरुणश्रुति हवमद्या च मृडय वामवस्युरा च कये तत्त्वाजामि ब्रह्मणा वन्दमानस्तदाशः अस्ते च मानो हविर्भिः अहेडमानो वरुणेह बोद्धुर्षकं समान आयुः प्रमोषीः अस्मिन् कुम्भे सकलतीर्थाधिपतिं वरुणं ध्यायामि ॐ भूः वरुणमावाहयामि ॐ भुवः वरुणमावाहयामि ॐ सुवः वरुणमावाहयामि ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः वरुणम् आवाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि वरुणाय नमः आवाहयामि आसनं समर्पयामि वरुणाय नमः पाद्यं समर्पयामि वरुणाय नमः अर्घ्यं समर्पयामि वरुणाय नमः आचमनीयं समर्पयामि ॐ वरुणाय नमः शुद्धोदकस्नानं समर्पयामि स्नानानन्तरम् आचमनीयं समर्पयामि वस्त्र यज्ञोपवीत उत्तरीय आभरणार्थे अक्षतान् समर्पयामि दिव्यपरिमळगन्धान् धारयामि गन्धस्योपरि अलङ्करणार्थे अक्षतान् समर्पयामि सर्वोपचारान् समर्पयामि ॐ वरुणाय नमः प्रचेतसे नमः स्वरूपिणे नमः अपां पतये नमः मकरवाहनाय नमः ॐ वरुणाय नमः ॐ प्रचेतसे नमः ॐ स्वरूपिणे नमः अपां पतये नमः मकरवाहनाय नमः ॐ जलाधिपतये नमः पाशहस्ताय नमः समुद्रराजाय नमः पश्चिमाधिपतये नमः अनर्घ्यमणिभूषणाय नमः वरुणाय नमः नामपूजां समर्पयामि ॐ कदलीफलानि सेव्यफलं निवेदयामि सर्वोपचारान् समर्पयामि भवद्भिरनुज्ञातः पुण्यं पुण्याहं वाचयिष्ये ॐ यत्पुण्यं नक्षत्रं तद्वत्कुर्वेतोपविशं यदा वै सूर्य उदेति अथ नक्षत्रं नैति यावति तत्र सूर्यो गच्छेत यत्र जघन्यं पश्येत तावति कुर्वेत यत्कारी स्यात् ॐ तत्त्वाजामि ब्रह्मणा वन्दमानस्तदाशा अस्तेजमानो हविर्भिः अहेडमानो वरुणे हवोद्धुर्षकं समान आयुः प्रमोषीः तच्छंयोरावृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जगातु भेषजं शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शञ्चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः शान्तिः पवमानस्सुवर्जनः पवित्रेण विचर्षणिः यः पोता स पुनातु मा पुनन्तु मा देवजनाः पुनन्तु मनबोधिजा पुनन्तु विश्व आयवः जातवेदः पवित्रमते पवित्रेण पुनाहि मा शुक्रेण देवदीद्यते अग्ने क्रत्वा क्रतो गुम्रनो यत्ते पवित्रमर्चिषि अग्ने विततमन्तरा ब्रह्मतेन पुनीमहे उभाभ्यां देवसवितः पवित्रेण सवेन च इदं ब्रह्म पुनीमहे वैश्वदेवी पुनति देव्यागाते यस्यैवह्वे स्तनवो वेतपृष्ठाः तया मदन्तः सधमाद्येषो वयग्रस्याम पतयोरयेणां वैश्वानरो रश्मिभिर्मा पुनातो वातः प्राणेने शिरोमयो भूः द्यावा पृथिवी पयसा पयोभिः रतावरे यज्ञजे मा पुनीतां बृहद्भिः सवितस्त्रभिः परिशिष्टैर्देवमन्मभिः अग्ने दक्षैः पुनाहिमः येन देवा अपुनता येनापो दिव्यङ्कषः तेन दिव्येन ब्रह्मणे वरुणाय नमः सकलाराधनैः स्वर्चितम् तत्त्वायामि ब्रह्मणा वन्दमानस्तदाशा अस्तेजमानो हविर्भिः अहेडमानो वरुणेह बोद्धुर्षकं समान आयुः प्रमोषीः वरुणाय नमः सकलाराधनैः स्वर्चितम् अस्तु गङ्गे च यमुने चैव गोदावरी सरस्वती नर्मदा सिन्धु कावेरी जलेऽस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु ॐ भूर्भुवः सुवः sprinkle this water. You cannot open the box. No. No. Should we ask or no?
We didn't.
Maybe just for the ceremony.
I think we did.
What do they want?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just keep it close.
Okay. Usually we do.
Yeah, okay, let me check.
Maybe
Yeah.
just for the ceremony.
Yeah.
We'll close it when the
Let's see. If not, that's okay. You can?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now, few times, just sprinkle the water all over the body.
Okay. This side too?
If you can.
Sure.
We wanted to make sure he's inside. Huh?
That's him.
Okay, go ahead. अपवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थाङ्गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं सबाह्याभ्यन्तरशुचिः ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः 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 पवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थाङ्गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं come around clockwise come around ॐ अपवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थाङ्गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं सबाह्याभ्यन्तरशुचिः वरुणाय नमः ॐ सहस्रशीर्षः पुरुषः सहस्राक्षः सहस्रपात् स भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वात्यतिष्ठद्दशाङ्गुलम् You too, brother. You can, if you have work, you can go. Another 45 minutes.
Pass it open?
Yeah, this is.
Of course.
Is it okay?
Of course, yes. Of course.
अत्यतिष्ठद्दशाङ्गुलं पुरुष एवेदकं सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यम् उतामृतत्वस्येषानः जदन्नेनातिरोहते एतावानस्य महिमातोज्यायाकश्च पूरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वाभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवे त्रिपादूर्ध्वोदयत्पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामते शासनानशने अभि तस्माद् विराडजायत विराजोऽधिपूरुषः स जातो अत्यरिच्यत पश्चात् भूमिमतो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत You light this lamp. बहु बड़ी बहु पुरुष एवेदकं सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यम् उतामृतत्वस्येषानः यदन्नेनातिरोहति. Need matches?
Yes.
You can try. एतावानस्य महिमा अतोज्यायागश्च पूरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वाभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवि त्रिपादूर्ध्वोदयत्पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामते शासनानशने अभि तस्माद् विराडजायत विराजोऽधिपूरुषः स जातो अत्यरिच्यते पश्चात् भूमिमथो पुरः. On the whole, this ritual is called Antyeshti. Antyeshti. Antya, last. Ishti, right. Last ritual. They are going to send him in the fire. That is the last ritual. We do so many rituals during our life. Upanayanam, wedding, Graha Pravesh, so many other homas. We offer many things in the oven. The final offering is ourselves. We offer it. The body is going to offer into the fire. That a yajna. The children supposed to do this for the parents when they depart from here. That is called antyeshti. To make everything ready, we are making the fire ourselves here. Then that fire will take him to the next life. The death means it's not an end. It's another beginning. Another new travel starts. Death is only for the body, not for the soul. The spirit, who is the Shrikant, spirit is always there. It was there before and it will be there after. So this end is only for the physical. Jatasya maranam dhruvam. Those who are born here, we know that the death is 100% sure. Nobody can escape from there. But we pray for his complete rest in peace, or moksha, or swarga. That is called antyeshti, final, last rite. We did the punyaha vachanam. We purified his body. We purify the place and ourselves. That is called punyaha vachanam with the Gangajam. Next, homa. Om avahita devatabhyo namo namaha. Om bhurvuvassuvaromityagnim pratisthapya ajnaharana patrayoh अक्षतोदकन्निनीजय अग्निविद्वा अग्निं प्रज्वाल्य चत्वारिशयात्रयो अस्य पादाद्वे शीर्षे सप्तहस्तासो अस्य त्रिधा बद्धो वृषभोरोरवीति महो देवो मर्त्यागम् आविवेश अग्निं ध्यायामि एष हि देवः प्रतिशोधु सर्वः पूर्वो हि जातः स उगर्भे अन्तः स विजायमानः स जनिष्यमाणः प्रत्यङ्मुखः अस्तिष्ठति विश्वतो मुखः हे अग्ने प्राङ्मुखो देव मम अभिमुखो भवे आयामतः परिमाणं प्रोक्षणी सग्गस्कारः पात्र प्रोक्षयते प्रोक्षणी पात्रमादाय अक्षतैः सह अप आसिच्य प्राचे स्तरोत्पूज समं प्राणैर्हृत्वा उत्तरेणाग्निं दर्भेषु सादयित्वा दर्भैः प्रच्छाद्य वरुणाय नमः सकलाराधनैः स्वार्चितम् ॐ पानी put around the fire outside this way anti-clockwise अप्रदक्षिणं परिशिच्य ॐ when I say swaha just offer little heat ॐ भूस्वाहा अग्नज इदं नमः ॐ भुवस्वाहा वायव इदं नमः ॐ सुवस्वाहा सूर्यायेदं नमः ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवस्वाहा प्रजापतय इदं नमः इदं विष्णुर्विचक्रमे त्रेधा निदधे पदं समूढमस्य पागुं सुरे इदं विष्णुर्विचक्रमे त्रेधा निदधे पदं समूढमस्य पागुं सुरे स्वाहा विष्णव इदं नमः ॐ पुरुषसंहितो यज्ञो यज्ञः पुरुषसंहितः अग्ने तदस्य कल्पयत्वगं हि वेत्थ यथा तथग् स्वाहा अग्नज इदं नमः यत्पाकत्रा मनसा दीनदक्षानयज्ञस्य मन्वते मर्तासः अग्निष्टद्धोता अक्रतविद्विजानन्यजिष्ठो देवागमृतशो यजाति स्वाहा अग्नज इदं नमः ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवस्वाहा ॐ इमं यमप्रस्तरमाहिसीदाङ्गिरोभिः पितृभिः संविदानः आत्वा मन्त्राः कविशस्तावहन्त्वेनाराजनः हविषामादयस्व स्वाहा यमाय सोमगं सुनत यमाय जुहुता हविः यमं ह यज्ञो गच्छत्यग्निदूतो अलङ्कृतः स्वाहा धर्मराजायेदं नमः अस्मिन् कर्मणि अविज्ञातप्रायश्चित्तानि करिष्ये ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवस्वाहा प्रजापतय इदं नमः मंत्र बोलिए राइट हैंड बोलिए हिरण्य हिरण्य गर्भस्थं हेमबीजं विभावसोः अनंत पुण्य फलदं अतः शान्तिं प्रयच्छ मे इदं हिरण्यं दक्षिणाकं ताम्बूलम् अस्मत् पितुः श्रीकान्त शर्मणः पितुः मरणकाले प्राण उत्क्रमण काले यो दोषः समजनि तद्दोष परिहारार्थं मरणकाले तिथि वार नक्षत्र योग करणैः यो दोषः समजनि तद्दोष परिहारार्थम् इदं हिरण्यं दक्षिणाकं ताम्बूलं तुभ्यमहं सम्प्रददे न मम ॐ तत्सत् हिरण्यगर्भ गर्भस्थं हेमबीजं विभावसोः अनन्त पुण्य फलदम् अतः शान्तिं प्रयच्छ मे इदं हिरण्यं सदक्षिणाकम् अस्मत् पितुः श्रीकान्त नामधेयस्य पितुः मरणकाले श्मशान वासी देवताभ्यः इदं हिरण्यं तुभ्यमहं सम्प्रददे न मम ॐ तत्सत् उष्णो हस्ताभ्याम् उत्तरोत्तराभिवृद्धिरस्तु थोड़ा आगे आप हवन कीजिए थोड़ा आगे every time when I say swaha just drop off ॐ सहस्रशीर्षः पुरुषः every time we take from here take as less as possible ॐ सहस्रशीर्षः पुरुषः सहस्राक्षः सहस्रपाद सभूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा अत्यतिष्ठद्दशाङ्गुलं स्वाहा पुरुष एवेदगं सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भुव्यम् उतामृतत्वस्येषानः यदन्नेनातिरोहति स्वाहा एतावानस्य महिमातोज्यायागश्च पुरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वाभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवि स्वाहा त्रिपादूर्ध्वौ उदयित्पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामते शासनानशने अभिस्वाह तस्माद्विराटजायत विराजो अधिपुरुषः स जातोऽत्यरिच्यते पश्चाद्भूमिमथो पुरस्वाह यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत वसन्तो अस्यासीदाज्यं ग्रीष्म इद्मः शरद्धविस्वाह सप्तास्यासन् परिधयः त्रिसप्तसमिधः कृताः देवा यद्यज्ञं तन्वानाः अबध्नन् पुरुषं पशुं स्वाहा ॐ तय्यज्ञं बर्हिषि प्रोक्षन् पुरुषं जातमग्रतः तेन देवा यजन्त साध्यार्षयश्च ये स्वाहा तस्माद्यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः संवृतं वृषराज्यं पशोगस्तागश्चक्रे वायव्याने आरण्यान् ग्राम्याश्च ये स्वाहा तस्माद्यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः ऋचः सामानि जज्ञिरे छन्दांसि जज्ञिरे तस्मात् यजुस्तस्मादजायत स्वाहा तस्मादश्वा अजायन्त ये केचोभयादतः गावोह जज्ञिरे तस्माज्जाता अजावज स्वाहा यत्पुरुषं यदधुः कतिधाव्यकल्पयन् मुखं किमस्य कौ बाहु कावूरोपादा उच्येते स्वाहा ब्राह्मणो अस्य मुखमासीत् बाहुराजन्यः कृतः ऊरो तदस्य यद्वैश्यः पद्भ्यागं शूद्रो अजायत चन्द्रमा मनसो जातः चक्षोः सूर्यो अजायत स्वाहा मुखादिन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणाद्वायुरजायत नाभ्या आसीदन्तरिक्षं शीर्ष्णोद्यौः समवर्तते पद्भ्यां भूमिर्दिशः श्रोत्रात् तथा लोकागम् अकल्पयन् स्वाहा वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसस्तु पारे सर्वाणि रूपाणि विचित्य धीरः नामानि कृत्वाभिवदन यदास्ते स्वाहा धाता पुरस्ताद्यमुदा जहार शक्रः प्रविद्वान् प्रदिशश्च तस्रः तमेवं विद्वानमृत ह्य भवति नान्यः पन्थाय नाय विद्यते स्वः यज्ञेन यज्ञमयजन्त देवास्तानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् ते हनाकं महिमानः सचन्त यत्र पूर्वे साध्याः सन्ति देवाः स्वाह ॐ केशवाय स्वाह ॐ नारायणाय स्वाह माधवाय स्वाह गोविन्दाय स्वाह विष्णवे स्वाह मधुसूदनाय स्वाह त्रिविक्रमाय स्वाह वामनाय स्वाह श्रीधराय स्वाह ऋषिकेशाय स्वाह पद्मनाभाय स्वाह दामोदराय स्वाह महाविष्णव इदन्न मम ॐ अनाज्ञातं यदाज्ञातं यज्ञस्य क्रियते मितो अग्ने तदस्य कल्पयत्वगं विवेत्थ यथा तथं मन्त्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं जनार्दन यत्पूजितं मया देव परिपूर्णं तदस्तु मे प्रायश्चित्तान्यशेषाणि तपः कर्मात्मकानि वै यानि तेषामशेषाणां श्रीकृष्णानुस्मरणं परम् ॐ स्वस्ति श्रद्धां मेधां यशः प्रज्ञां विद्यां बुद्धिं श्रियं बलम् आयुष्यं तेज आरोग्यं देहि मे परमेश्वर hold this fire. Can you come around 3 times slowly? अग्ने नय सुपथा राजे अस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुनानि विद्वान् वयुनानि विद्वान् जयोध्यस्मज्जुहुराणमेनो भूयिष्ठान्ते नम उक्तिं विधेम hands in the front ॐ अग्नये नमः मन्त्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं हुताशन यत्पूजितं मया देव परिपूर्णं तदस्तु मे नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गो ब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः ओके timber now जनी पे इनको पहना दीजिए आराम से यज्ञोपवीतं परमं पवित्रं प्रजापतेर्यत् सहजं पुरस्तात् राइट शोल्डर या आयुष्यमग्र्यं प्रतिमुञ्च शुभ्रं यज्ञोपवीतं बलमस्तु तेजः ये चंदन लेके पूरा फोरहेड में आराम से लगाइए गन्धद्वारान्दुराधर्षा नित्यपुष्टाङ्करेशनीं ईश्वरेगं सर्वभूतानां तामिहोपह्वये श्रियम् can apply a little bit on the on his hands also. It is if it's reachable hands. Okay, don't worry. Just put it. गन्धद्वारान्दुराधर्षा नित्यपुष्टाङ्करेषणीं ईश्वरीं सर्वभूतानां तामिहोपह्वये श्रियम् विभूति ॐ विभूतिर्भूतिरैश्वर्यम् अणिमादिकमष्टधा त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनं उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् देहालङ्करणार्थे इदं वः चन्दनं सकलाराधनैः स्वर्चितम् Om 2 चम्मच पानी and with the water that sesame just off leave it at the right shoulder. Om प्रजापते नत्वदेनान्यो विश्वाजातानि परितापभूव यत्कामास्ते जुहुमस्तन्नो अस्तो वयज्ञस्याम पतयोरयेण. The other side also. ॐ अपेतवीतविच सर्पतातो येत्रस्तपुराणाये च नूतनः अदादिदैयमोऽवसानं पृथिव्या अक्रन्निमं पितरः लोकमस्मै. Can I pluck these flowers?
Sure.
Just wipe your hands without any necessary. Okay. For this, I'll recite some shlokas from Gita. The 15th chapter is more appropriate at this moment. There are 18 chapters in the Gita. The 15th one. Wives also come. ॐ श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधशाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित् अधश्चोर्ध्वं प्रसृतास्तस्य शाखा गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके नरोपमस्येह तथोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठे अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा. Grandchildren, come. पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी निर्माणमोहाजितसङ्गदोषा अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामाः द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ताः सुखदुःखसंज्ञैः गच्छन्त्यमूढाः पदमव्ययं तते न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनः षष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणमेव च अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायं विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्त्यचेतसः यदादित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भासयतेऽखिलं यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधेः सर्वाः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधं सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहं द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्मात्क्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेवमसम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्या बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे पुरुषोत्तमयोगो नाम पञ्चदशोऽध्यायः. श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु. One by one you offer the flowers. Pray for his complete rest in peace and come around. ॐ वनमाली गदीशार्ङ्गी शङ्खी चक्री च नन्दकी श्रीमान्नारायणो विष्णुः वासुदेवोऽभिरक्षतो विश्वं विष्णुर्वषट्कारो भूतभव्यभवत्प्रभुः भूतकृद्भूतभृद्भावो भूतात्मा भूतभावनः भूतात्मा परमात्मा च मुक्तानां परमागतिः अव्ययः पुरुषः साक्षी क्षेत्रज्ञोऽक्षर एव च योगो योगविदान्नेता प्रधानपुरुषेश्वरः नारसिंहवपुः श्रीमान् केशवः पुरुषोत्तमः सर्वशिवस्थाणुर्भूतादिर्निधिरव्ययः सम्भवो भावनो भर्ता प्रभवः प्रभुरेश्वरः स्वयंभोः शम्भुरादित्यः पुष्कराक्षो महास्वनः अनादिनिधनो धाता विधाता धातुरुत्तमः अप्रमेयो ऋषिकेशः पद्मनाभोऽमरप्रभुः विश्वकर्मा मनुस्त्वष्टा स्थविष्ठस्थविरो ध्रुवः अग्राह्यः शाश्वतः कृष्णो लोहिताक्षः प्रतर्दनः प्रभूतस्त्रिककुब्धाम पवित्रं मङ्गलं परम् ईशानः प्राणदः प्राणो ज्येष्ठः श्रेष्ठः प्रजापतिः हिरण्यगर्भो भूगर्भो माधवो मधुसूदनः ईश्वरो विक्रमी धन्वी मेधावी विक्रमः क्रमः अनुत्तमो दुराधर्षः कृतज्ञः कृतिरात्मवान् सुरेशः शरणं शर्म विश्वतेताः प्रजाभवः अहः संवत्सरो व्यालः प्रत्ययः सर्वदर्शनः अजः सर्वेश्वरः सिद्धः सिद्धिः सर्वादिरच्युतः वृषा कपिरमेयात्मा सर्वयोग विनिसृतः just cover the body. You can open a little bit if you want to. युवं वस्त्राणि पीवसावसाथे युवोरच्छिद्रावन्तवो हसर्गाः अवातिरतमनृतानि विश्व ऋतेन मित्रावरुणा सचेते. You can be seated. ऋतेन मित्रावरुणा सचेते. Keep the face open. You can close it. See, you got a garland. आराम से. You can lift the head and put the garland. Nicely. Om नमोऽस्त्वनन्ताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादाक्षिशिरोरुबाहवे सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाय शाश्वते सहस्रकोटियुगधारिणे नमः. गंगाजल ना थोड़ा ऐसा स्प्रिंकल कीजिए आराम से. अग्निशुचिव्रततमशुचिर्विप्रशुचिः कविः शुचिरोचत आहुतः उदग्नेषु च यस्तव शुक्राभ्राजन्त ईरते तव ज्योतिगस्यर्चयः. तव ज्योतिगस्यर्चयः. ॐ यज्ञेश्वराय नमः. सर्वोपचारान् समर्पयामि. सर्वोपचारान् समर्पयामि. ॐ भूस्वाहा अग्रज इदन्न मम भुवस्वाहा. 4 बार. अग्रजे स्वाहा अग्रज इदन्न मम भुवस्वाहा. वायव इदन्न मम सुवस्वाहा. सूर्यायेदन्न मम ॐ भूर्भुवस्वस्वाहा. प्रजापतय इदन्न मम. 4-5 minutes Shanti mantra. Recite Shanti mantra. Just listen and pray for him. Om Bhadram Karneभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः. स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो ब्रह्मणे नमो अस्त्वग्नये नमः पृथिव्यै नमः ओषधेभ्यः नमो वाचे नमो वाचस्पतये नमो विष्णवे बृहते करोमि ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ शन्नो मित्रश्यं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः इडा देवहोर्मनुर्यज्ञनेर्बृहस्पतिरुक्ता वदानि शगंसि षद्विश्वे देवाः सोक्तवाचः पृथिवी मातर्मामाहिगंसेर्मधुमनिष्ये मधुजनिष्ये मधुवक्ष्यामि मधुवदिष्यामि मधुमतीं देवेभ्यो वाचमुद्यासकं शुश्रूषेण्यं मनुष्येभ्यः तम्मा देवा अवन्तु शोभायै पितरो नुमदन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि आकाशात् पतितं तोयं यथा गच्छति सागरं सर्वदेव नमस्कारः केशवं प्रचिगच्छति ॐ श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु cremation is somewhere else, right? We have to travel.
Yeah.
We cannot take the fire as it is. We're supposed to. It will go off in a little while, and we will again reignite there. So just to drop it, everything on his body. Anything else? Anything else to do? कुछ है तो वो करना है, ये करना है, सब है तो बोल दीजिए.
नहीं. Suhasini, you have any request? I would like to take a picture of that. Okay.
Yeah, that also. Jana in the right. Changing to the right. Okay. You hold this kalash on your left shoulder and come around 3 times. So you also follow it. Come. ॐ नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गो ब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः समस्तसम्पत्समवाप्तिहेतवः समुत्थित आपत्कुलधूमकेतवः अपार संसारसमुद्रसेतवः पुनन्तु मां ब्राह्मणपादपांसवः आधिव्याधिहरन्द्रेण मृत्युदारिद्र्यनाशनं श्रीः पुष्टिकीर्तिदं वन्दे विप्रश्रीपादपङ्कजं विप्रौघदर्शनात् सद्यः क्षीयन्ते पापराशयः वन्दनान् मङ्गलावाप्तिः अर्चनात् अच्युतं पदम्. So just touch his right ear and recite Om Namah Shivaya 8 times. Is that right? This is right. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Next, Om Namo Narayanaya, 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 Om Namo Narayanaya. Okay. Keep the grass right there. Om Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Repeat. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. I'll say Ram Naam. You all say Satya Hai. Few times. Ramanam, 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 Ramanam. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakrute Svabhavat Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami. Akashat Patitantoyam Yatha Gacchati Sagaram Sarvadeva Namaskaraha Keshavam Pratigacchati. Both of you do a namaskar, sashtanga, dandavat pranam. That is also okay. You have to
Lay down whole body flat.
whole body. Pura sashtanga namaskar. Very good. Now daddy must be happy. पितृभ्यो नमः पितामहेभ्यो नमः प्रपितामहेभ्यो नमः. Yeah, here it's over. Now you can let them know. Huh? Yeah, please.
Yeah.
They are done.
You are done. You are done.
Oh, yes, may I?
Please, you can close. to take there.
How often do we see?
Oh.
Careful.
What time you are going to go with Anisha? What time is the meeting? I have some nice cards. I did not create anything. I have written something and I have a small image of Papa. So I have made a frame. So I'll give it to Anisha. And then you can, when you go to the restaurant, you can open it for the people for parents. Okay? Okay. How are you, Leela? What, how do I look?
Sorry?
Anisha, you are going to go with the kids,
yes.
right? So you self-explanatory. I had made small, like for example, card and something for each. You will see from whom to give what.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so you can give it while waiting for the parents.
Okay, thank you.
You are the big girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
At some point.
Oh, thank you.
Can we dispose of this?
They said that we need to get, do we need to get there by 12:30 or? Oh, okay, then maybe we just pack up now, just quickly. Oh, here,
I think we have